apologies for the Philadelphia tuxedo, but on Wednesday, as the Phillies played the Mariners, Jose Alvarado made his return from his 80-game suspension for PED use, and he was met with applause. Why? What exactly are we applauding? Now, I thought that this was like a common sense thing, and I'm not saying that you boo Jose Alvarado, but why are we applauding Jose Alvarado? And then I hop on Twitter, and I see my former Wake and Cake co-host, Andrew Salchunas. One of the big questions I always get asked is like, hey, do you ever like talk to so-and-so from my old work? Like, yeah, we always stay in touch. And I see him, and he took he quote tweeted a video of people cheering Jose Alvarado from Colin Newby, who works at 97.5. And Salchunas said, look, I don't want to be that guy, but like, why exactly are we cheering this guy? He put the team in a tough position right now because he's not playoff eligible. And silly me, I thought that this was like a common sense thing. I thought that, yeah, most people would agree with this. And no, Salchunas was dragged by Stepford wives who, I mean, I don't know if they've grown up in the vet or what, but like they're going too far with it. It seems like these are the people that welcomed a tribute video for Tobias Harris. Because when we start cheering a guy who put the organization in a tough spot, I don't know, I'm weird. I guess I'm wired differently. And I go, why exactly are we cheering the fact that now Jordan fucking Romano, not calling him by that stupid Romano, Jordan Romano will be on a playoff roster instead of Jose Alvarado. One of the things that I noticed in Salchunas' responses, God bless. I mean, and then, by the way, his responses are a good reason of why I've muted all notifications on Twitter. Ignorance is bliss. But one of the things is like, hey, man, you are being that guy. And let's not act like he was, taking, Balco supplements. He got popped for a diet supplement. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he got popped for. He was suspended for 80 games. He's not playoff eligible. I don't care what he got popped for. Because if in a best-of-5 series, if I have to see Jordan Romano instead of Jose Alvarado, and Jordan Romano gives up his patented 2 or 3 spot, I'm not going to sit there and go, hey, you know what? At least Jose Alvarado wasn't taking performance-enhancing drugs. He was only trying to get slim. Beach season was coming up. What are we talking about? What are we doing as a fan base when we are cheering this guy coming back from a performance-enhancing drug suspension? I don't care what it was for. I don't care what the excuse was. This was incompetence. This was flat-out incompetence on Jose Alvarado's part. And the idiots down there at Citizens Bank Park who stood up and cheered, the idiots who are in Andrew Salchunas' mentions defending the actions are Stepford wives. You guys have drank the Kool-Aid. Congrats. One thing I saw was like, well, if he was healthy, they might not have gotten Durant. Maybe. We don't know. I'll tell you one thing I do know. I do know that he won't be eligible in the playoffs. That's what I do know. I do know that Dave Dombrowski will force his way to put Jordan Romano on a playoff roster now when he shouldn't have been. Is this how far we've gotten as a fan base where a guy that is suspended, and honestly, I'll tell you right now, I don't really care about the suspension. I don't care that he took PEDs. I don't care that he got popped for you-know-what. I don't care. I don't care what it was for. I care he got caught, and more importantly, I care that he's put the organization in a tough spot where now he, one of their better relievers, will not be there when it counts the most. I saw one guy. I'll put the tweet up here. I saw one guy defending Alvarado, and he said it's because Philly loves Jose Alvarado. He worked his ass off. How do you know? I don't even know what the guy's name is that put the tweet up, because I do this right now, and I haven't screenshot it, but how do you know he works his ass off? What, like other guys don't work their ass off? Is that the prerequisite? That because Jose Alvarado, quote, works his ass off, he gets a pass? No, that's not the prerequisite. The prerequisite, bud, let's be real here, was that Jose Alvarado is good. He's not a shitty reliever. That was the prerequisite. The workload that you and I know nothing about has nothing to do with it. Because none of us, you watching, me, the commenters, Salchunas, none of us know if Jordan Romano actually works harder than Jose Alvarado, or if it's just God-given. We don't know. So the whole argument of, well, he works his ass off. You know who else worked his ass off, and I tweeted this out? Jeffrey Dahmer. No one worked harder than old Dahmer. Dahmer got after it. Dahmer had a plan. You know what Dahmer and Alvarado have in common? They both got caught. You know what else they have in common? They both aren't going to be playoff eligible. Once again, what are we doing as a fan base in Philadelphia where this guy comes back, he gets cheered, somebody in the media points it out, like, hey, why exactly are we cheering this guy? And he gets dragged. All right. If that's the way we all want to play it, I don't want to hear any complaints. Any complaints from those same people. When Aaron Nola starts a game, he can't get through 4 innings, and I've got to see Jordan Romano, and he gives up 2 runs. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it because Jose Alvarado worked his ass off. And it wasn't a steroid that he took. It was a diet supplement. Yeah, he took a diet pill. Makes it all better. I don't usually buy into the whole wussification of America thing. But I do think the Philadelphia fan base has gotten soft. And I'm not telling you to drag this guy through the streets. Once again, I'm not even telling you to boo him. Okay? I was more looking for an indifference response to Jose Alvarado being back. But I am blown away that this fan base is rewarding this guy. I don't get it. I don't get how this guy comes out there and screws over the organization by simply not taking the supplement to the trainer to see, hey, is there anything in this that's banned? That's all he had to do. Is there anything in this supplement, hydroxycut, is there anything in this that's going to get me popped? He didn't do it. But he comes back, and because he's a good reliever, and because the Phillies are a good team, and because we're so desperate in Philadelphia to get rid of that negative stigma of, the typical Philly fan, we have to give the guy a standing ovation. Welcome back, Jose. Welcome back. Cool. Again, Phillies are, 6.5 games up on the Mets at this point? I would be blown away if they blow it. Be shocked. So they're going to make the playoffs. And when that matters the most, Jose Alvarado will not be there. But the Stepford Wise fans will. And I can't wait to hear the excuses that they make. To drag a guy pointing out, man, we really shouldn't be cheering this, that's bananas to me. It's ridiculous. Now, I'm sure that people in the comments will have their say. I did see one comment that was like, it's always the unathletic guys. I love that. It's worth mentioning. I just won a beer league championship. Back to back. Made no impact in that game. But I was there. Front and center with the picture. We got a case of beer. It's honestly a shitty league. It's a really, really shitty league. It's like 10 games. Used to be best of 3. Now it's just 1 game. Anyway, yeah. The insults that were going Salchunas' way were absurd. And he's actually really athletic. All right, I'm going to go. I would say this was fun, but it wasn't. But hey, go Phillies. A couple years ago, I go out to Vegas for the NFL draft. And while I was there, I watched the Sixers knock off the Toronto Raptors and advance the second round of the playoffs. And it's there where I find out that Joel Embiid broke his face. Again. Yeah, because the guy just can't catch a break. I went from feeling pretty good about the future of the Sixers and the future of the Eagles to feeling pretty shitty, as you can probably imagine. And we all know what happened in the next round. Well, I go out to Vegas this past weekend. It's my Fantasy Football League's 20th anniversary. We wanted to do something big for it, so a couple of us decided, you know what, let's go out to Vegas for the draft. And really, it was only 4 out of 12, but still, it was a good time. But it's in Vegas where I find out that Zack Wheeler has a blood clot in his shoulder. And at first, I'm like, well, damn, that sucks. And then I start thinking about it. I'm like, I know somebody with a blood clot. I know someone who suffered from blood clots. I know somebody that I played hockey with who had suffered from blood clots, and they can't play hockey anymore. Now, granted, I'm comparing a beer league hockey guy to a professional athlete, and it's not like the professional athlete will have to retire because of this, but still, it's very concerning. What's even more concerning is the fact that this cannot happen at a worse time. We are talking mid-August with the playoffs right around the corner. Now, my big concern isn't just the fact that the Philadelphia Phillies are going to end up losing their best pitcher, by far, one of the best pitchers in all of baseball, for the rest of the season. It was, I think, Dr. David Chow, the sports doc on Twitter, he tweeted out, like, best case scenario, he's back in 3 months. So, essentially, he is going to miss the regular season and all of the playoffs. That is the best case scenario for the Phillies, 3 months. But you factor in that he won't be pitching, he'll have to build up his arm strength. He's done. He is completely done. And then I started thinking about the trickle-down effect, and me and my buddies had this discussion while we were in Vegas. Who starts game 1? Playoffs roll around, let's say the Phillies have clinched. Who's going to start that first playoff game? Now, I'll ask you guys out there, okay? And please, put in the comment section of who you think will start game 1, because I think there's an obvious choice, and then I think there's what the Phillies will end up doing. Now, before I get into what I think they'll end up doing, I'm going to ask you a trivia question. 2008, Phillies end up winning the World Series, right? Who was the ace of the Philadelphia Phillies in 2008? Give you a second. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, you got it. It was Cole Hamels, right? Best pitcher on the team by far. Wasn't a surprise. He came into the season and everybody knew he was going to be the best pitcher on the team. He had come up in 2006. He solidified himself in 2007. 2008, he cements himself as the ace of the team. He ends up winning the NLCS MVP, the World Series MVP by winning those 2 games. Like, he was it. Who was the opening day starter? 3, 2, 1. Yeah, it wasn't Cole Hamels. No. If you remember, it was Brett Myers. Because Brett Myers had finished the season in 2007 as the closer. And he actually really liked being the closer of the Phillies. He liked it a lot. But the Phillies, heading into 2008, they desperately needed another starter, and they had just traded for Brad Lidge, which left Brett Myers without a job. So it's like, well, Brett, just be a starter again. And Brett didn't like that. So the Phillies, to appease Brett Myers, made him the opening day starter because he had been the opening day starter before. It was like, hey, he's the veteran. We'll have him go out there. He'll start opening day. And if you remember, Brett Myers was so bad that year, but he actually got sent down to Double-A. And he came back, and he pitched some pretty key games for the Phillies, and he was really good for him. And obviously, we all remember the at-bat against CC Sabathia and him pitching really well in the playoffs. But the fact is, the Phillies did not go with their best pitcher. They went with the veteran to appease the vet. And that is why my big fear is in about 6 weeks, when October baseball rolls around, your game 1 starter is not going to be Christopher Sanchez, who is the Phillies' best pitcher at this point. No, it's going to be Aaron Nola. Aaron, 6.5 ERA Nola. That will be your opening day starter. Your opening series for the play, whatever you want to call it. You guys know what I'm talking about. Hit thumbs down for that. But he will be your opening starter. He will be your game 1 guy. And we're going to get to hear Rob Thompson come out. I don't even think it'll be his choice, but we'll get to hear him come out and say all the BS. Oh, we have the utmost confidence in Nola. You know, he's been here before. He's been a big game pitcher for us before. We know he can do it again. We like his experience in the playoffs. Yada, yada, yada. And he will be lying to you, and I think in a way he'll be lying to himself. And in reality, this will be Dave Dombrowski calling down to the manager and saying, hey, that guy I gave $24.5 million to, he's going to start instead of Christopher Sanchez. And I'll ask you guys, does anybody have any confidence in Aaron Nola going into the playoffs? Because I sure as shit don't. Now, granted, I've been shitting on him all season long. And unfortunately, I can't even cold takes expose myself because I've been dead on right with it. You know, they send him down with a phantom ankle injury. He's on the 60-day DL. They try to get his mind right. They put him in AAA. They bring him up, and he was good for 2 innings. And then he imploded, as he always does. And who can't sit there and see a scenario where the Phillies go down in a best-of-5 series, best of 5, they end up going down game 1 because Aaron Nola gives up 6 runs in 3.5 innings. All because we had to force Aaron Nola in there because you gave him a bad contract. And if you don't believe me, the proof is in the pudding because Jordan Romano still continues to pitch meaningful games for this team, even though his ERA is 7.7 something. And I haven't looked it up, but I'm willing to bet that he has got to be up there when you factor in the amount of games he's appeared in And innings, I'm sorry, in his ERA, he's got to be one of the worst in baseball. And why is he still on this team? Why does he continue to take up a roster spot instead of literally anybody else? $7 million, that's why. Why does Max Kepler continue to get at bats? $10 million. And why will Aaron Nola be game one starter? $24.5 million. Now, look, I pray to God I'm wrong. But at this point, I'm just speaking for myself, and I'm sure there are people out there that agree with me at this point, but when I look at Aaron Nola, I just assume the offense has to score at least 7. Now, can they do it? Yeah, they can, because this offense is really good. I mean, JT Realmuto is getting hot right now, which is great. Kyle Schwarber's an MVP candidate. Harper's getting hot at the right time. Like, things are going well for them, and this offense can explode, no question. But, man, am I going to be pissed off when that scenario rolls around, when the Phillies clinch the division, when the playoff seeding is set, and when game one of a best of 5 comes up, and the Phillies force Aaron Nola into a game 1 situation. All the build-up confidence that clearly isn't there, hoping to God that he somehow turns back the clock and gets right. You know, the Phillies gave him that massive contract because they said, oh, well, you know, he takes the ball every 5th day. And there's some good with that, obviously. He's reliable, but then there's some bad because he's pitched a lot. And I don't necessarily know if Aaron Nola's completely cooked, but I know he's cooked for this season. And maybe he'll be a pleasant surprise. But the Phillies are in trouble because one of the things that they had going for them was their starting rotation, and now I look at it as a big, big weakness being, you know, hanging on by a thread. Because you've got Christopher Sanchez that everybody has the utmost confidence in. But after that, you've got Ranger Suarez, who is leaking oil and usually has leaked oil late into the season. And I'm a huge Ranger Suarez guy, but that's just the reality. You've got Jesus Luzardo, who has not been right for a while. He's kind of up and down. You don't know what you're getting with that. Taijuan Walker's actually been pitching pretty well, but then you've got Aaron Nola, who's a shit show. You want to bring up Andrew Painter? Fine. He has not pitched well in AAA. Just hasn't. You want to rely on him? So now you're looking at a situation where you're relying on your bullpen. Duran's great. Can you get to Duran? I think they can. I think the best of 5 series is going to be the big problem. Because you can't afford to throw out Aaron Nola in a best of 5. And they're going to. They're going to, and they're going to do it game 1. And I thought they would throw out Aaron Nola in game 2, which is what they've done, you know, the past couple of years. They've thrown Wheeler in game 1 and Aaron Nola in game 2. And that situation's not as bad because at least then with Wheeler on the mound, you have a lot of confidence they're going to win that game. I know they didn't last year, but you have a lot of confidence they're going to win that game. And at that point, you're going to and you go, okay, like I can split. That's not as bad. Going down 0-1 in a series is just, it's tough. I've never liked best of 5. That includes the year the Phillies beat the Braves. I don't like it. But in this situation, yeah, the Phillies are about to piss me off in about 6 weeks. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. Who do you guys think is going to start game 1 of the playoffs? Let me know in the comment section. Now is the part where I beg you guys to subscribe. Just hit the button. All right? You know where it is at this point. You can hit thumbs up. You can hit thumbs down and me being a hater. Oh, you're such a hater. Trust me, brings me no joy to make these videos. It's the reason why I don't really make a lot of Eagles videos, because there's nothing to complain about with that team. But yeah, let me know. And I'm going to go watch Netflix now. So Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys relationship is quickly deteriorating, but is it good if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan? Now, I think the immediate reaction is, well, yeah, it's good. I mean, he is one of the best defensive players in the league. He's a premier linebacker that just about any team would love to have. And the fact that the Cowboys are botching this so much is music to every team in the NFC East ears because they don't want to play against him. But if you're an Eagles fan, let's be real here. You've had your eyes on this guy for a while. Because it has become clear to everybody with a brain cell that Micah Parsons wants to be an Eagle. And this isn't just me being an Eagles fan, being a homer. When you look at the fact that he is on record lamenting the Eagles picking his, quote, favorite players in the draft. Whether it be Jalen Carter one year, whether it be Quinyon Mitchell the next. The guy is a Sixers fan. Like, he wants to be an Eagle. And honestly, how can you blame him? All this dude has known since entering the NFL is losing. Because that's what the Cowboys do. The Cowboys will remind you that they're America's team, and Jerry will remind you that they have a valuation of $10 billion. And that's great for Jerry. But the Eagles will remind you, who's top dog, who won the Super Bowl 40-6. Oh, I'm sorry, 40-22 after they pulled their starters. Yeah, who wouldn't want to play for the Eagles? The reality is that when Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, said years ago that the Eagles were the gold standard, even though they had an empty trophy case, he was mocked. He was ridiculed. A lot of people in Philadelphia pointed and laughed and said, like, gold standard what? Of what? Like, you don't have a Lombardi. But now we're sitting in 2025. He's got 2 of them. He's gone to multiple Super Bowls. He's compiled one of the best organizations in football. And more importantly, he's compiled a team that star players want to go to. And the reason I say that is not just because the Eagles are a very good team and, good players want to be on good teams. Like, no shit. No. It's the way that the Eagles treat their players is night and day from the Cowboys. Jerry Jones, God bless him, hope he never sells a team, hope he continues to run into the ground, doesn't realize how to treat star players anymore. Maybe at one point he did, but he's still going with this rhetoric of like, you need me, I don't need you. And I guess when you have a $10 billion evaluation of your franchise, maybe you're right. Maybe he doesn't care about winning anymore. Maybe it's like, yeah, it'd be nice to win, but checks keep clearing, so whatever. But when you look at the Eagles, they signed Saquon Barkley from the New York Giants. The rival New York Giants. They signed Saquon Barkley. What does he do? Let's be real. He would have broken Eric Dickerson's rushing record. Maybe he does it this year if, everybody stays healthy and all that. Did the Eagles need to give him a raise? Did they need to extend his contract? No, they didn't. He was locked in. No reason to do that, right? Why did they do it? To show their appreciation. To show him, hey man, this is different than your other team. The Giants, they franchise tagged you. They didn't extend you. Us, shit, we just signed you. Here's more money. I'm fully believing right now that if Howie Roseman and not dipshit Joe Banner was in charge of the Eagles, T.O. would have spent the majority of his prime in Eagles green because they would have rewarded that. And that's what the Eagles do. They look to extend their players. They look to reward their players. And they're able to do that because they have a GM in Howie Roseman and an owner, more importantly, in Jeffrey Lurie, that are willing to cut guaranteed money checks to keep the cap hits low. So it's not just the fact that they're able to reward, but it's the fact that they know in the back of their mind, I'll just rework contracts and make the cap hit work because I have an owner who's willing to invest today in the product. Whereas you have Jerry Jones sitting there going like, yeah, it'd be nice to have him, but, not going to lose sleep over it. It's sending the wrong message to your entire team. And this started with the CeeDee Lamb contract extension. It started with that being played out during training camp. And now you're seeing a situation with the Dallas Cowboys where Micah Parsons, their best defensive player, is not practicing with the team. They're coming up with phantom injuries, but the reality is like he wants to be traded. He has said he wants to be traded. Is it good? He's 1 year removed, or he's 1 year away from being a UFA. And there's no doubt in my mind that the Eagles would be interested. How could they not? There's no doubt in my mind that he probably would take less money to come to the Birds than, another team. But at the same time, I look at it, and as an Eagles fan, and I go, man, I would have just rather had him play out this season with Dallas, not had this trade demand. Because the fact is, if the Dallas Cowboys end up going, we need to trade this guy. All right, he's sitting out games. We're fining him, but it's not really mattering much. He's just going to walk away at the end of the year. We're going to get nothing for him. We need to trade him. Whoever trades for him is extending him. And the pipe dream of having Micah Parsons on your defense it went away. Micah Parsons to the Eagles was just that. It was a pipe dream. But it was a pipe dream that's become more and more of a reality as the years have gone on because of the fact that he hasn't gotten that extension with Dallas. It was always one of those like, man, this guy clearly wants to be a Bird, but like Dallas would be idiots not to extend him. Well, they haven't extended him. And he's pissed off about it, rightfully so. Because he's, one cut in turf away from just shredding his knee up and his career never being the same. So he wants that money. And if you're a free agent in the NFL, the Eagles are really, really, really attractive. And if you're Micah Parsons, who is I think he's pretty friendly with a lot of the guys on the Birds because he respects them. He's, as I said, openly stated that he really likes the way that they've drafted. They've routinely taken his, quote, favorite player in the draft. He'd absolutely want to join this defense. But again, if they end up caving, they're going to end up trading him, and that team will end up extending him because there's no team that is going to give up that kind of draft capital and then risk him walking in free agency. You know, I mean, we saw this play out with Hassan Reddick. Like, Hassan Reddick gets traded to the Jets expecting a contract extension, and the Jets were like, well, we're not extending you yet. No. And now Hassan Reddick is a Tampa Bay Buck. That's dumb. That's bad business of the Jets. That's another poorly run organization. And right now, the Dallas Cowboys are a poorly run organization. Now, Dallas Cowboys fans can come on my mentions and say that they're not. You are. And you know that. You've got to be frustrated. How could you not be? Because you're in danger of losing your best player in Micah Parsons. So, as a Birds fan who would love to see Micah Parsons in Eagles green and who has dreamed about seeing Micah Parsons in Eagles green, I have to look at this situation as there are three outcomes here. And the most likely of them is not good if you have this dream of seeing him in Eagles green. The first outcome is they end up trading him. They end up getting a bevy of draft picks that the Eagles are not going to give up because they're not going to give up that draft capital. And as I said, whoever trades for him will end up extending him. The second is that Micah Parsons sits out. And that I'd assume he'd end up eventually coming back because the fines would just rack up and rack up and rack up. And he'd eventually come back and then he'd hit free agency. And in that situation, it'd be great because he's not going to go back to Dallas. And then I think the Eagles would, in fact, pounce. The third outcome is that he extends in Dallas. Is that Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones eventually come to their senses and they go, like, we can't let this guy go. We'll give him the bag. He deserves it. He's earned it. Options 1 and 3, he gets traded or he gets extended, I think are the most likely. I don't see a scenario where he ends up hitting free agency next year. And that goes back to my question. Is this good if you're an Eagles fan? Whether the Eagles win on week 1 or not, I'm not going to overreact if they lose because you know and I know and everybody in the NFL knows that the Eagles are an elite team. The Eagles will be in the playoffs. So I'm not going to overreact if they lose to the Dallas Cowboys in week 1. When you look at the Eagles, do they need Micah Parsons? No, they don't. Would it be nice to have him? It's like the rich getting richer. And I obviously don't want to play him in week 1. It's going to make week 1 a lot easier. But I do ask, like, you know, is it good? Well, in the short term, yeah, it's good. But could the Eagles beat the Dallas Cowboys with Micah Parsons on the field? Absolutely. And they've done it. So in the short term of, well, yeah, this is great for the Eagles. I don't know if Micah Parsons makes that much of a difference with how good the Eagles are. You know what I mean? Like, is he so much of a difference maker for the Dallas Cowboys where he is able to shut down everything that the Eagles offense is able to do where you go, oh my God, like, thank God he's out. Obviously, it makes the win easier for the Birds. I just don't know if he is such a difference maker for that Dallas Cowboys defense against such a formidable opponent, the Eagles offense, where you're going to sit back at week 1 and go, the Dallas Cowboys won because of Micah Parsons. And I really, really hope all of that made sense. The long term is this good for the Eagles? It's good in the sense of he might not be in the NFC, but if you want Micah Parsons to be an Eagle, it's not good. It's, in fact, I think bad. I don't know if I made a lick of sense in the past 10 minutes and 41 seconds, but I hope so. You guys know where the buttons are. Subscribing is important. Helps me out. Liking, disliking, commenting, whatever. Obviously, got to finish with the Go Birds. Well, UFC fans have a new place to watch the product after the UFC and the parent company Endeavor reached agreement with Paramount on a 7-year, $7.7 billion deal. Now, this is a topic that I don't think a lot of my viewers really care about too much, MMA, but The beautiful thing about having my own channel is I don't have a 70-year-old wizened program director eating tapioca pudding telling me, just talk Eagles. So bear with me on this one. But really, this is a business of sports episode in a lot of ways because this deal is great for UFC fans. Gone are the days of the $80 pay-per-view price that we were forced to deal with at the hands of ESPN Plus. You know, it started off at 60 and then now it's at 80. And if you watched any of my UFC previews, a lot of times I'm sitting there telling you it's not worth $80. These 5 fights aren't worth $80. Go to a bar that has it for free. Go to a Buffalo Wild Wings. Grab a bunch of buddies. Split it. Do not buy this on your own. It is not worth it. Very rarely did I actually sit there and look at a card and go, that's worth an $80 price tag. That goes away because now Paramount has all of the UFC library. They have all the fight nights. They have all the pay-per-views, and that's not going to affect the viewer, which is great for the viewer. And you've seen this. You're seeing the streaming services scoop up sports. You saw Netflix grab the WWE. They've also grabbed a couple of NFL games. ESPN Plus set themselves up with this deal by grabbing the WWE pay-per-view. So all those pay-per-views are now going to live behind a paywall on ESPN Plus. Lord only knows how much they're going to charge for that. Peacock has the Champions League, and they have a couple other ones. Apple has Major League Baseball. Paramount really didn't have much. I honestly can't think of anything they had. I'm sure they had something, but it wasn't something that I really watched. And I'm a pretty big sports guy. But now they finally have dipped their toe in with a massive, massive contract that Dana White said came together in 48 hours. And my guess is the deal came together so quickly because Paramount said, we'll give you $7.7 billion. And Dana said, okay, where do we sign? And then it took about 2 days for all interested parties to draw up the paperwork and actually sign the deal. Yeah, I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? $7.7 billion. The TKO Sports, which is the subsidiary of Endeavor on the stock exchange, their price went up, as you can imagine. This is good for Endeavor. This is good for the UFC. This is good for the ownership. This is good for fans. You know who it's not good for? The fighters. Right now, it is not good for the fighters. And this is the time for the fighters to actually unionize. Because while Dana White comes out and says, oh, yeah, the bonuses are going up. And if you're unaware of how the UFC works, they don't pay their fighters all that well. The guys that are making a decent money, the superstars, yes, they are getting paid a decent chunk of change. But the guys on the prelims, the guys who aren't superstars yet, maybe the journeyman fighters, they're really not making a livable wage. Now, the way it used to be was if you were a superstar, you were getting pay-per-view points if you were the champion. If you were the guy holding the belt, you got a share of the revenue of the pay-per-view. Well, that goes away. So while the bonuses are going up, great for the 4 fighters who get bonuses for fight of the nights and performances of the night. But other than that, I mean, I'm sure it'll go up a little bit in terms of their pay, but their pay when you start out of the UFC, and I believe it's still the same, is 12 to win and 12 to show. Meaning if you just show up, you're getting 12K. If you win, you get another 12K. So in total, if you win your fight on that contract, you're getting $24,000. Seems like good money, right? Well, then you got to factor in that you need to train. You're paying your trainers to train. Then you need to fly out to most of the time it's in Vegas, but it could be like the pay-per-view this week is in Chicago. It might be in Abu Dhabi. It might be overseas, in London. They've gone to Paris before. Now, the UFC will pay you, the fighter. They'll pay your way to go out. But if you want your coaches, which everybody does, friends or family want to come, you're paying that. And that's why a lot of times the friends and family don't come. Because you're really just able to afford your coaches, and that is it. So you have to fly them out. You also have to put them up in a hotel room. And then after that, obviously, there's the tax man. That $24,000 goes away quick, okay? Because if you're dedicated to the fight game and you get $24,000, you got to figure you're really probably only going away with like 14 after it's all said and done. And then you got to hope to God that they give you another fight, that you can get another fight. You fight 3 times a year, it's not that much money. To the point where Jeff Neal, who is a ranked fighter in the UFC, was working at, I think it was Longhorn Steakhouse or one of those like, commercial steakhouse. Like, imagine that. You sit down, and the guy that comes over and says, "Hey, I'm Jeff. I'll be taking care of you today," and you look up, and it's Hands of Steel Jeff Neal, because the UFC is having trouble finding him an opponent. He is broke at this point. He has used up all his resources, and he has to go wait tables. And he's a ranked guy. He's a guy that has earned performance bonuses. So while this, like, let's hypothetically say the performance bonuses go up to $100,000, it's great if you hit that bonus. It's great if you're one of the guys that has a performance of the night, or you're involved in one of the fight of the nights. But if you're not, how much is this going up? And that gets back to the original point. They need to unionize. They desperately need to unionize. They have never unionized. And that is one of the reasons why they don't make a lot of money. I know a lot of people don't like Jake Paul. I get it. He's got a punchable face, and now he's a boxer, and he wins. So it's like, I want to see that guy get punched in the face, and when he doesn't get punched in the face, he ends up winning. It's frustrating. I get it. Guy makes a good point. Like, they really need to get on this, because he is one of the guys that have said multiple times, you need to get a union. You need to actually band together and make the UFC pay you guys like you're professional athletes. I know for a lot of the working class out there, you're going to hear these numbers, and you're going to think, like, I could live off that. Great. They're putting their bodies at risk. Like, it's cage fighting. And they're getting $12,000 if they lose to cage fight. That's insane to me. These are pro athletes who just watched their parent company reach a $7.7 billion deal. The 0.7, you forget, is $700 million. Think about that. And you've still got guys going out there with 12 and 12 contracts. Now, it hasn't happened yet. One of the reasons why it hasn't happened, and this is what we'll tie into the Philly sports angle, is because you haven't had superstars actually band together and stick up for the little guy. Because the superstars, because the company guys, Daniel Cormier, who is a former champion and who's, working broadcast, and he gets his ESPN podcast with Chael Sonnen, and, he's always up at, in front of the cameras, and, he's treated good. He's a company guy. So he comes out and he says, no, the UFC, they pay their fighters really well. I'll tell you a story. One time, we were at a pay-per-view, and Dana White called me and said, the pay-per-view did amazing. I'm sending you $1 million check. So instead of sticking up for the guys on the undercards, he goes the company route. You're not going to bite the hand that feeds. Part of me gets that. But it would mean so much more if a superstar in the game, if a Sean O'Malley, Conor McGregor, I won't even throw out there because he's really not a fighter anymore, but if, like, the Sean O'Malleys of the world, if the John Joneses of the world, if they go, this is bullshit, and they won't do it. And that's why I love Bryce Harper getting in the face of Rob Manfred and saying, oh, you want to talk salary cap? Get the fuck out. Because Bryce Harper is going to end up making $330 million at the end of his Phillies contract. He doesn't need to stick up for the guy on his rookie deal. He didn't need to stick up for Ranger Suarez, who's in arbitration, or Bryson Stott, who's in arbitration, but he did it anyway. Because he knows that that's what's best for the next generation of players. And the UFC fighters, they don't care about the next generation. They don't care about the current generation. They care about what's good for them, and one of the reasons why they care about what's good for them is because they're not getting paid all that well. So they don't want to ruffle any feathers. Because if you're in the fight game, there's one place that is going to actually pay you the best. That is probably the UFC. And yeah, okay, you can go fight PFL. No one's going to watch you. That's the reality. MMA junkies will watch you, but no one's lining up. You want to go be Mo Makayev and fighting Brave? Is anyone watching Brave? Brave FC? Probably not, right? So you don't want to ruffle any feathers, and that's why they have a monopoly. But it would really benefit these guys to look at this deal, sit around, and go, like, yo, we need to actually form a plan here. Because the UFC just reached this big deal with Paramount. What happens if they get out there and they don't have any fighters? The UFC are already overcrowded on their roster with fighters. I could sit there and go, like, Ricky Tercios. Why is he a fighter? Well, they have all these fight nights. They have to fill the cards. So Trayshawn Gore is a UFC fighter. He's not. But, hey, Parker Porter is a UFC heavyweight. He's not, but they got to fill the cards out, right? So they're already littered with a bunch of guys that really aren't UFC caliber. because they need to fill cards. So imagine what happens when this Paramount deal, starts to pop up, and we're right around the corner from the Paramount deal, and all of a sudden the UFC fighters go, whoa, we're not fighting until we talk contract. Where's our part of the $7.7 billion? And yeah, Dana White's going to come out and he's going to do a spin job because that's what he does. And that's, he's best friends with a guy in Washington right now who taught him everything he knows about just you lie, and eventually people will buy it. But this deal, while it's great for me, bad for the fighters. And that's why they have to unionize. Now's the part of the video where I'm going to beg you to subscribe. I've said it pretty much in every video. I need 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch hours. As soon as I hit those marks, I will stop begging you to subscribe. But if you could hit the subscribe button, that'd be cool. You know where that is. Thumbs up, down, comment if you want, if you think that they should, if you don't care. Whatever you want. It's a free country. That's the beautiful thing about this. Hey, go Phillies.